Hello everyone, welcome back. When I am recording this, it is the day after Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving if you guys celebrate that if you're in the US, or maybe you're abroad and you celebrate it. I know that there are a lot of countries that do the Black Friday sales and stuff. That's not a US only thing, and I know that Canada already did their Thanksgiving in mid-October, so happy very belated Thanksgiving to Canadians. I had a great day yesterday. Long story short, for those of you who don't know, which is basically everybody, my mom had a surgery in Boston at Mass General. She is fine. It was back at the beginning of the month, and it's a long recovery. So I'm up in the Northeast until basically sometime after the new year, which is great because my whole family is from Mass. I grew up in Mass. My parents grew up in Mass. So we've been able to see everybody and spend the holidays with everybody, whereas we were not able to last year because of health issues. So it was really great to be able to see the family, have a good Thanksgiving. There was a ton of food. We usually eat at like 1 or 2 is when we usually sit down. And I want to hear from you guys, like, do you sit down for Thanksgiving in the afternoon or at night? I am dying to know because my boyfriend's family sits down at like 6 to start their Thanksgiving dinner. He's done that his entire life. They have been doing it at like 6 p.m. for his whole life, and so has his extended family in the Northeast as well. However, last night he texted me and said that they were setting up everything to be able to feed the members of the family at 8 p.m. They hadn't yet set the table. He texted me a photo of his Thanksgiving dinner plate at 9:30 p.m. Personally, I think that is too late. I have been very much trying to be like understanding of different people's holiday things that they do, like how people might eat at a later time or whatever. But me personally, if I was eating Thanksgiving dinner at 9:30 at night, I would have been rioting. There were a ton of people at his holiday. There were quite a few people at mine. My family is pretty big, like my extended family, but there were some people there this year who could not make it due to work, like they were on call, or there were other things going on, like they had gone to in-laws, which was fine. If you guys hear in the background, you might not because of the game sound, and my mic is pretty good about not picking up a ton of noise, but my dog Fawn is snoring like a couple feet away from me. She's snoozing. She is out like a light. Like, I just looked over at her and she is on her side snoring, having like a great nap. A couple days ago, actually, she was having like a really vivid dog dream. She was like running in her sleep. My dog is 11 and a half. She actually was my guide dog. I got her from Guide Dog Foundation, which is a nonprofit. They train guide dogs for people who are blind and visually impaired, and they also train service dogs for veterans. They have a sister organization called America's Vet Dogs. They're located on Long Island. She was actually raised by a puppy raiser. The person lived in Georgia. There was a program, I think that it still exists at the University of Georgia in Athens, where they have a big puppy raising program of all the college students. So that worked out well for me because when I got Fawn, I was in college. So she had already done the experience of going to class and stuff with the raiser who taught her basic training and everything. And then when she went to Guide Dog Foundation for her formal training for like 6 months to a year, however long that took, they did the guide work stuff. And then I went to train with her. They have a residential program where you could go either for the campus for 2 weeks or you could do it in your home community. But for first-time handlers, they want you to like go there, which is fine. So we did that. When I was there, this was like 9 years ago now. It was in January of 2015, so almost 10 years ago. It was during Superstorm Juno. That like dropped 120 something inches of snow in Boston. That was my final semester of college. I literally don't think we had that many classes that semester. I remember like every Monday we had canceled classes because of snow. I lived on my college campus, but about half of my college campus was commuters, and then, you know, the professors and stuff, they couldn't get in. So we had so many snow days. And when I was in New York training with Fawn, with like I think 8 other people who were in my class, we did a lot of stuff indoors because it was so icy and snowy, mainly because of the ice. It wasn't safe for us to like be outside in certain areas, like in certain conditions. We did like obstacle courses and stuff with our dogs, having them guide us around indoors and things. We went to the mall a lot. There were a couple of days that we went to New York City, which is like a big thing. Pretty much all the guide dog schools in the Northeast do that. I know the Seeing Eye does in New Jersey, and I know Guiding Eyes does because they're in Yorktown Heights or something, like kind of like close-ish to New York City. So we did New York City for a couple of days. We like went back and forth, did the subway, did some other stuff. Because I was in college too, I did some work with Fawn on a college campus, whereas like other people in my class did other things that were not necessarily college related stuff. Like there was more tailored to them. There were people who lived in more suburban and rural areas, so they did more like suburban work. There were a few people there in my class who live in New York City, and so they did a lot of their work in the city. Like when we would go into the city, they did more of the city work with me, like doing the subway and stuff. And the other people in our class would go to like Central Park or something and walk around there. I don't really remember. I know we were in Queens when we did the subway, and it was really nasty because it was snowy and it was slushy. My dog, Fawn, she's like low to the ground. She's a lab, but she's like a short lab. So her belly and the underside of her guide harness and like her legs were all mucky brown because of all the slush. She's a yellow lab. That was really annoying. It wasn't the end of the world though. She got a bath obviously when we went back to the place. But anyway, for those of you who may not have guessed, maybe you're new here, I am low vision. I am visually impaired. I talk a lot about my disability on my other channel, my main channel, if you guys want to check that out. I have not uploaded a video there in a couple months, mainly because I haven't had a lot to really talk about. It's kind of niche, more like real life stuff, a lot of like disability related stuff, because a lot of people, when they think of someone who's blind, they don't necessarily think of someone with some residual sight. I know like for me, so like I use a cane when I'm out and about, like a white cane, mainly because of identification, but also like I have no depth perception because I only have vision in my left eye. And because of that, I can't really tell like half the time if there's a step or something, and lighting conditions have a lot to do with my vision too. So if it's really poor lighting, I can't really see that well, especially at night. I can barely see anything at night. Because of that, I use my cane. Unfortunately, when a lot of people see me out and about in the world, like a normal person, they assume that I am completely blind because of my cane. And there are some people who try to be like too helpful. I know I haven't talked about this game at all since I started this voiceover commentary, and I apologize, but like we're just going through and doing dailies here on Kringle. We are starting like the 3 house plots at some point throughout this video. We already opened the museum, talked to Blathers, did all that. I didn't know too, if you try to donate more than one of the same item, I mean, I don't really know what I expected, but he will obviously give it back to you, like the extra ones, and then you can go sell it, which is great. I also, for some reason, thought that I would have had Mabel visit me already, but I guess she doesn't start doing that until you build the shop. Now she'll hopefully come and visit. And I think it's really funny when Nook did the announcements that like Leaf is just hanging out in the background, because like I think the only time that he ever did announcements, because I started this game at launch, whenever there would be an NPC visitor, it would just be Mabel or like Gulliver, I think, but he wouldn't be in Resident Services Plaza. And then when the thing turns into a building, it's Isabel, and she's doing everything from inside. So like you don't get to see the other NPCs who visit unless you happen to find, you know, Sahara or whatever. And then Leaf was introduced in a spring update in 2020. I did a video, my most recent video, the one that I posted on Friday. This is like very not timeless for people if you're watching in the distant future, but my most recent video before this one, it'll be in the end screen, it'll be up in the cards, is all about Leaf and his role in the game. I just think it's really funny that he was just hanging out there in the back while Nook was doing his little announcements. I wish that you could fit the house plots on the beach. I forgot how big the 3 houses are when you place it, because there's like a zone for furniture around them. I think like a safe zone or whatever. We are not going to be doing any of the furniture crafting in this video. At the end, I do gather some of the windflowers that I need. You don't see that. We're going to do that next time. I filmed for about like an hour and a half. I know the last time I did stuff on Kringle, it was about 4 hours of footage. That was just me like hanging out playing. Most of this we were diving. I cut a lot of things out because like there wasn't a whole lot happening. I'm hoping I'm going to try connecting my phone, like using my phone's hotspot with my Switch. I think you can do that. I know people who've done it. I've never done it. I hope it works because I really would like to go to a treasure island and get some DIYs and some materials and stuff. I don't want to get the items that I want to make. I just want to get like the DIYs and the materials because I want to craft a lot of furniture and tools to get more achievements on those Nook Miles stretch goals and see what we have going on there. Hopefully that works out. If not, I'm gonna be in a place with better internet for a bit, so we'll see. But whatever. Back to what I was talking about originally. I've been in situations where people have like grabbed me trying to like guide me somewhere because they think I need help. First off, don't do that. I really quite honestly do not care if I lose subscribers talking about this. Like, do not grab anyone without consent, first off. Secondly, do not grab a disabled person, especially if they are visibly disabled, like somebody with a support cane or in a wheelchair or blind or using a service dog. Like, don't do that. It's jarring. It's frightening. It's not okay. I don't want random people touching me. I remember specifically there was this one day I went into Boston. Like, I took the train and then I took the subway to wherever I was going. This random lady was waiting for me at the bottom of the escalator. I was going down to catch the subway. I talked about this in a recent video on my main channel. When I say recent, I mean like a couple months ago at this point or something. But she grabbed me as I was getting off the escalator because she wanted to try and help me. There was a language barrier. I, in the moment, froze. I just told her, don't touch me. Like, politely, but like assertively, don't touch me. And then I got on the T. I went to wherever I was going. When I was coming back, I got into the subway car and it was packed. I was only going like 2 stops. Usually somebody will get up and offer me their seat, which I don't need. Like, I appreciate the offer, but if I'm going like between 2 to 5 stops, I don't mind standing and holding on to the pole or whatever, because like I take the subway fairly often and like I'm used to it. I have good balance. I know, like, you know, they do that probably because they think that I need the seat, which is fine and I appreciate that, but I would just rather stand if I'm gonna not be on the subway for longer than like 10 minutes. So I got into this Green Line car, this Green Line subway. Another random lady, she like grabbed me and she shepherded me into an open seat. I did not ask for a seat. I literally stepped into the subway car and had this woman take my arm and like put me in a seat that wasn't even near the door that I needed to get out of. Luckily I can see, because like for someone who can't see, that's even more disorienting. Like trying to get your bearings. I literally was just gonna grab onto the pole and then like get out as soon as we stopped at my destination, because that's the door I would have been getting out of anyway. Because again, like I'm from Massachusetts. I take the subway when I'm in Boston. Like I know how to get around the public transit because I can't drive. So I have to know how to get around the public transit. And it just really bothered me that like somebody would do that. I have been talking for so long about this. You guys are probably not even listening anymore. We're gonna kind of talk about the video, I guess. I'm looking forward to doing some villager hunting. I really need to get Nook Miles tickets. I did get a couple in this video. I don't think that I showed that. It's just so long of a process. It kills me that it's not like with the bells, like when you put bells in your ABD and it's like, okay, let's put the max amount, or let's donate the max amount to Lloyd, or let's like remove the max amount or whatever. Same with Daisy May. Like you can buy like however many turnips you can currently buy based on what you have on you. I wish it was like that with the Nook Miles tickets. That's it. I don't care if I have to go back 5 times and buy like a pergola or a topiary, but I want to be able to buy in bulk Nook Miles tickets and potentially the Bell vouchers. But I would just love it if I could just buy like 50 Nook Miles tickets at once. It's so aggravating because like Nintendo really did not optimize this game at all for quality of life, and it kind of makes me upset. I mean, we're not getting any more updates. I'm really over this. I don't think about this at all in my day-to-day, but when I am faced with having to get Nook Miles tickets, every single time I will go to a treasure island. Like, that's ridiculous. I am not going to sit there, me personally. If you do that, that's great, but I am not going to sit there for like hours and print off a ticket. It takes so long. But anyway, really quick, back to Thanksgiving. We had a great time. We ate dinner at like 2. We started with soup, like a chicken escarole soup. Then we had our main dinner course, which was like, you know, the turkey dinner with some sides. My cousin's wife brought that cornbread souffle that she makes every year. It was very good. We then had stuffed artichokes. Usually we also have fennel, or a type of fennel, and sorbet like in between dinner and dessert as like a palate cleanser. We did not do that this year. I don't know why. And then we had dessert. One of my cousins and my uncle, they stayed up until like 1 o'clock in the morning the night before making a zillion homemade cannoli from scratch. And they said it took them 4 times to get the dough right. Each time they messed up. I don't know if they were using the same recipe the whole time, but they finally got it right. At like 12:30, they started the 4th batch or whatever. They finished them. They brought the homemade cream that you put in the filling and stuff to dip in. So we had like a choice of mini chocolate chips or crushed pistachios, and they were doing them all to order, which was fantastic. And so I guess they're doing that again for Christmas Eve, which is exciting. But she was like, yeah, we're doing the shells like ahead of time, because you can do them like a few days ahead and then like put them in the fridge or the freezer or whatever, and they'll be fine. But I literally can't. She made like at least like 30 of them or 40 of them. It was a lot, I thought, which was great because we all loved them and we all ate them. Like I had one with chocolate chips. My mother had one with chocolate chips. My father had one with pistachios because he loves pistachios. They were very, very good. There's nothing like homemade pastry. We also had a couple other things that were good for dessert. Like one of my cousins made fudge. It was a mixture of regular and Rocky Road type fudge. There was a regatta pie. We had an apple pie. We also had a squash pie, which I talked about in a recent video kind of. I don't understand why we don't do pumpkin pie and we do squash pie instead. Me personally, I would have rather had pumpkin pie. I know they're essentially the same. I don't know. We had like some chocolate. There were some nuts, like mixed nuts, things like that. I can't remember if we had any other dessert. I don't think we did. Nobody made cookies. I usually will do a dessert, but I just could not this year. And I actually already decorated for Christmas. Today when I'm recording this, I put up a little tree. It's very cute. We're very festive here. Anyway, I think it's time for me to go. I've talked so much, not necessarily about Animal Crossing, but I hope that you enjoyed this video regardless. I'm hoping to like kind of use this as a sort of podcast space with the game going on in the background. Do you guys have any thoughts on this? Let me know. And no offense, I'm probably going to do it anyway, regardless of what you say in the comments. Also, today, currently, right now, the 29th, this is the first full day since Pocket Camp has gone offline. And it is so weird to me. I definitely am checking my phone less often. That says a lot about who I am as a person. But I'm looking forward to the complete game that's coming out in a few days from now. I am going to do a video on it. It's essentially the same as Pocket Camp. It's just a paid app. There's no microtransactions. There's no online features. Because of that, there's also no server connection. So like you don't need the internet to play, and you can't really like interact with friends. There is a sort of element to that though. If you want to learn more, I did a recent video on everything regarding Pocket Camp Complete. We did a deep dive into the video announcement that Nintendo had released a few weeks ago. So please check that out if you are interested. And let me know too if you are going to play Complete. Maybe we can be friends in that game. We'll have to see. I think that they are capping the friend limit still. They're not making it unlimited, which sucks. I believe the cap is at 100. I'm pretty sure that's what the cap is in Pocket Camp, right, as it was previously. I was going to say right now, but it is no more. I also think I'm going to be playing it on my iPad. For me, it's just easier to see the screen than it is for me to do some of the stuff on my phone sometimes, because some of the elements are smaller in the game and it's difficult for me to see. And I do use my screen magnifier on my phone. All iPhones have the ability to magnify your screen so you can move around the screen and read easier, but it doesn't play well with Pocket Camp. It's not intuitive in that sense. Like it works fine, I can see it, but when I'm scrolling around the screen, it will think that I'm like controlling stuff within the game, and that's not how we want to do things here. So I'm just gonna play on my iPad, which is not the end of the world because it means that it won't be on my phone, so I won't be super tempted to like be looking at my phone all the time and then like depleting my phone battery. My iPad is also a lot newer than my phone, and because of that, it has a better battery life. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful time. Please leave any comments, feedback, and suggestions down below, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!